MoveOn.org, it started out as a movement that was like an email list about like not impeaching a very popular president for nothing, right? Because Republicans, but when you go behind the reason Republicans wanted him gone, it was about the idea that having a Democrat in place would allow a Democrat to fill the courts. For Republicans, it's all about that one thing, and we think of the court fight being about abortion. But for Republicans, it's mostly about plutocracy. It's mostly about shoveling more resources into the hands of the very rich. So much of the fights that we have, so many of the fights we have seem to be about one thing, but they're always about money. And the Republican Party is a concentrated machine for funneling money to the very rich and corporations. They fool us with all these other social issues to keep us occupied. That's my opinion. Let me allow you in.
No, I agree with you 110%, Joy. Look, first of all, I respect and love everybody on this panel. Let's start off saying that. I think about just going back to billionaires and the role that they play. We have to remember billionaires, they bought the economy and it crashed in 2008. And who had to pay for that? People who had to pay for that were like people like my parents who lost almost everything, lost a home. And that is the thing to remember. It trickles down to the very people that we're talking about who are trying to get out of the situation that we're in with Donald Trump. And now you have a billionaire who's trying to buy an election. And guys, we have to be really honest about this. That is what Bloomberg is doing. He came in late. And
exactly what he's doing.
Of dollars on TV, and it's not that people are giving him a pass; it's that he's controlling the narrative. And what happened for the first time last week on the debate stage is that he was questioned, he was pushed. And he had to answer for stop and frisk. He had to answer for NDAs. And so that is what's happening. And I have to go back to stop and frisk for a minute because that was incredibly disingenuous the way that Bloomberg is spinning this. He's a data guy. He doesn't leave his house without knowing what foot to put first. He knew that policy was bad. He knew it. He knew he was hurting people. And he continued it. The courts had to stop him. It ruined many lives. And so that is something that I had to say. It's just a disingenuous argument, an apology.
Very quickly, I want to get Jonathan in and then let Anand have a last word. But Jonathan, how does he work? I mean, an apology is an apology, but to Kareem's point, he's got a lot of baggage. But black people seem to be open to it. It is confusing to me.
Right. Well, my mom's going to kill me by sharing this conversation after I told her I wouldn't. But it was a perfect distillation of why she still, after watching the debate, she said she was still leaning towards Bloomberg, but her heart's kind of with Biden. But Vice President Biden, he's such a nice guy. He always wants to turn the other cheek. And Bloomberg is like, what cheek? For my mother, who is a 78-year-old woman who grew up in the segregated South in North Carolina, for her to see what is happening to this country is heartbreaking. And for her, Donald Trump is an existential threat. She wants him gone. She wants him defeated. She thinks Mike Bloomberg is the person who can do it, regardless of stop and frisk, regardless of all the true harm that he caused with that policy. But she sees him as the guy with the wherewithal and the resources to hit the ground running and take Donald Trump out. That for her and for all the black women coming up to you, Joy, in airports and everywhere, that is their number one goal. You said it yourself. Black women are the canaries in the coal mine. We should start listening to black women.
And let me give you the last word on this, Anand. Why are they wrong? Because they are, I've been sort of astounded by just the number of black women, particularly black women over 40, who have been coming up, black women over 50, over 60, really intensely clinging to Mike Bloomberg as a lifeline. Why are they wrong?
I never say voters are wrong. I think candidates may be wrong to argue the way they argue. Voters have all kinds of reasons to choose what they choose. I can only tell them what I think. What I'm suggesting is that these things that we're talking about Michael Bloomberg, these different things, are not unconnected. The stop and frisk, when you know better, is the smugness of the out-of-touch person who doesn't actually understand, able to see other people. And it is the smugness, this question of Michael Bloomberg is not as corrupt as Donald Trump. In a certain sense, that is absolutely true, obviously true. In another sense, the very notion of trying to win the election in the way that Bloomberg is corruption. And frankly, to purchase the presidency of the United States may be legal, but it is corruption on a scale that makes a Ukraine deal look actually quite trivial. And I think the question now is, are we going to get past the myth that I've heard in some of this discussion about the good billionaire versus the bad billionaire? We are living in a plutocracy. You either recognize that or if you don't. If you do recognize that, you think we need to make the plutocrats less powerful, all of them less powerful. And there are very few people in the plutocracy, on the left or the right or whatever they say, including George Soros, by the way, who actually want to make themselves less powerful. So if you want justice to flourish in America, you're going to have to make those people less powerful. Yeah. And I do not believe they are going to be the leaders of the change that displaces them and allows human flourishing in this country.
Plutocracy or autocracy or social democracy. This is a very interesting time to be alive, a very terrifying, I think, in a lot of ways, time to be alive.
It's very terrifying.
We're all friends on this show. We can disagree. It may be. We'll see. We'll see. There's not a lot of trust out there. I can tell you black folks don't necessarily trust the system, but we'll see. It's tough, but I like the fact that we have good friends who are smart people who can come on and have these discussions, and we walk away all friends. Thank you all very much. Anand Girdadas, appreciate you. Karine Jean-Pierre, appreciate you. Eric, Maria Teresa, Jonathan, and Tiffany, stick around. We have a little bit more.